Welcome, folks, to another episode of Fluffenbusters. As ever, I am Mr. D, one half of your humble hosts, joined by Mr. White.
I'm half man, half Sinclair Spectrum.
Whereas I'm half man, half beard at this point.
I mean, you've got the best deal there. I'm just thinking about the image that I'm going to have to use to edit when I get to that point in the recording.
I mean, I would like more on my scalp, to be honest,
Sir,
because the top's getting perilously close to
sir,
Hulk Hogan territory. But
sir,
I
please.
yeah, I know. I shall retain my long bone locks as long as I can.
Anyway, are we here to talk about hairdressing tips?
No, we're here to talk about a film, and we're tackling something a little bit more recent today. It's one I've been a fan of for quite some time, ever since it was originally announced back in 2003, and I think there was even rumours quite a lot before that.
Yes.
It is Alita: Battle Angel, directed by Robert Rodriguez, produced by James Cameron and John Landau. And you know what? I'm stoked for this because Battle Angel Alita is one of my favourite properties.
Now, for those not aware, Alita Battle Angel was a long planned project based on a manga comic called Battle Angel Alita, first published in 1990. Now, this movie wasn't the first adaptation of a manga comic to hit our movie screens. Of course not, but it was one of the most anticipated. And what they created was one of the more interesting big budget films of recent years. Something really worth viewing. And while there was a bit of a stab at an animated version, I believe that the only follow ups to the original were in other manga series, some of which you own, D.
I have the full run of the manga for the original series of it from Viz's re-release in the mid 2000s. They started up,
Okay.
and I've been collecting the sequel series, but I've only got a couple of bits of Last Order for one that came in between because that one's weird. But let's get started then.
Just before we start, I want to thank folks for the great response to our last film, Stallone's Demolition Man. It was really, really heartening to see the comments and to get the feedback. So, thank you. We love you. And to those new subscribers who joined after the last vid, we at the Fluffenbusters create feature-length fan commentaries for a range of movies, just like you used to get on DVDs and Blu-rays. We're always open to new movie suggestions, so please let us know in the comments below. Now, of course, we can't show the full movies on YouTube, but you can either start your own copy and watch along with us when we give the countdown, or you can watch the Flickerbook version on screen, because at least it lets you know where we are in the film. So we're going to go, I believe, from just before the 20th century logo? Lovely. So there's a nice little touch with that. I appreciate that.
So we will go on a 1 and a 2 and a... There we go.
This was the last film, I think, released under the 20th Century Fox banner.
It would have been, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Or one of them, certainly, because it dropped in 2019. And it did solid. It did 405 million internationally, which is not bad figures overall.
It's not bad if you've got like a 60 million budget.
But this had like a 200 million budget, so. But it is a very CGI heavy film.
Yes.
And Alita herself, when the initial trailers dropped for this, there was a lot of flack because people thought her eyes were too big. They was trying to match the look of the character. And the thing is, Alita herself is not actually a human character. The only thing human left about her is her brain.
Okay.
Much like the Major from Ghost in the Shell, she's completely cybernetic otherwise. So her face is a simulacrum. And the way this film does it, so Rosa Salazar plays Alita and does the motion capture for her.
Okay.
And there were a few awards that came out of that for her and for the film. Because its effect work is, I think, quite good.
Oh, his effects work is magnificent.
Yeah, there's stuff in here where the manga is only ever presented in black and white. The covers are normally coloured, and sometimes on certain volumes they might have a bit of flash colour on the first couple of pages.
Or like a splash page or something.
Yeah, but otherwise it's a very because it's manga. It's a black and white medium generally, but especially Alita, all the film, the manga presents it in a very cold way because of how it's drawn. It's not a cold book, but the aesthetic feels quite cold. This film, Rodriguez brings a lot of warmth to it with the color grading.
Actually, just can I quickly just jump back just before I go
Yeah.
into the colors? I've got to ask. So this started off as a manga, is that correct?
Yes.
Right. And was this a huge hit in terms of a manga, especially in other countries, and then sort of fed over to America, or was it an instant international hit?
It's a solid one. Its history is when it started in 1990.
Okay.
It's created by Yukito Kishiro. And funnily enough, in Japan, it's not called Battle Angel Alita. It's called Gundam instead.
Uh-huh.
So gun with two N's and an M at the end. Uh, and Alita is not called Alita. She's called Galley.
Oh, wow.
So it's it's quite an interesting jump. Alita was one of the titles that got brought over in that boom of the early 2000s.
Yeah.
So hence some of the changes in the name. There was an animated OVA based on the first real arc of the manga that got bought over by ADVN Manga Entertainment, and was one of it was one of those films that Channel 4 had in their bracket, you know,
Ah, yes.
when they were doing anime in the 2000s.
Yeah, I mean, Channel 4 really did pioneer a lot of the. I think the initial fanfare of anime, yes, came through fans and came through
Mm,
niche comic book shops, but Channel 4 were the broadcaster that were brave enough to go, look, here are the films. Here's Akira. Here's Ghost in the Shell.
yeah,
Here's other series. Here's regular series. I mean, we might put them on at 2 in the morning, but at least you get a chance to see them. And I
yeah. I
think they
mean,
sparked an interest for a lot of fans in this country.
absolutely. And this was the era where you had was it? I can't remember if it was Manga Mania was the original title
Hmm.
when it was published by Dark Horse, and that was because this was the era of Dark Horse doing. They had a bunch of titles on UK newsstands
Yeah.
in the style of 2000 Ideas anthologies. So you had an Alien book, a Terminator book, and a Predator book, and you had a manga one.
Oh, lovely.
And Manga Mania was the title that, for a lot of fans of our vintage, was where they experienced Akira in its drawn form for the first time, because it serialized the entirety of Akira,
Hmm.
which was quite a thing. Now, Alita wasn't one of the titles that they brought over for that, and I kind of knew it because they were regular news features,
Hmm.
and they kind of had mentioned once or twice that Cameron had expressed an interest in the character.
I think this and Spider-Man were projects that he seems to have been talking about for as long
Mm.
as I've known him as a filmmaker.
Oh yes, they were the films that post Terminator 2, when he really had proved his chops, that he wasn't flash in the pan, because the Abyss had kind of damaged his reputation slightly. Was also cementing it. It established him as that intense filmmaker,
Yep.
but it it had also garnered him the reputation of being quite hard on his crew and actors. But Terminator 2 proved that he could be a reliable hitmaker as well, and a big hitmaker.
Yeah.
So whilst he was sounding ideas out, like I say, there was Spider-Man was touted for a while. There was Alita, and it kind of became much more solid in the early 2000s. But with Avatar, that kind of started to take up all his time.
Yep.
So he brought on Robert Rodriguez to direct it.
which is a really interesting choice. By the way, I'm now going to undercut all the seriousness of this and go the moment where she walks downstairs and sees the doctor being given oranges in sort of lieu of payment just reminds me of the first Daredevil film
Mm.
where
Yeah.
they get paid in fish.
Yep.
And
It,
a certain future Marvel director complains that they've been paid not just in fish but in fluke. Anyway,
Daredevil was so underrated. But yeah, so he brought Rodriguez, and Rodriguez. It kind of meshes because Rodriguez was one of the directors who was really on boot, the leading edge of digital filmmaking and virtual sets. Well, with his
he
Spy Kids
was actually.
productions. Yeah.
Yeah, for Spy Kids and for Sin City.
Yes.
And if anyone has ever sees as well, I mean, Sin City, I could go on about those films all day, but it
Mm.
just in terms of the way that he shot elements and put them together, really, really good. And it is odd because he's partially known as well for this rough, gritty, I would say kind of cheesy, corny style of low budget filmmaking.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, when he does a digital project, he just seems to be ahead of the curve like Cameron.
And this is one of my favorite shots where they go outside the house for the first time, and you see the city, the scrap heap.
And it's natural. It feels natural.
Yeah. And the thing in the manga, this is much more desolate. This feels much more living,
Mm.
like it should do. And I think it's I think it's great. This is really interesting because in the original manga, you don't initially, or you don't for a long time find out what year it is.
Oh, okay.
It's quite late in a first run. It might have not even be until Last Order that you get a solid date. Because it actually runs off a different timeline. Because it's actually set in what they call the era Sputnik, and so their a Anno Domini is from the launch of Sputnik in I think was it 54, 55?
Mm.
But all the dates run off that. So when they start to mention dates under that era, you can then once they revealed it, you can go back and it's a cute little thing I kind of dug.
Yeah.
That there was a point where some part of human race decided to use that as the launching point.
I stopped you in your tracks on this point, but you started to talk about the eyes.
Yes.
Now, the eyes is a fascinating thing to me because at the time, people was just starting to use this phrase uncanny valley.
Mm,
Of course, it was, and we know it all the time. I mean, it's been in the news recently with recent game developments. However, with this film, it wasn't like they were just trying to fake something or they were trying to cheat at creating something. The
mm,
eyes was an essential part of the design for them.
absolutely.
So it was a challenge to, and even when I was watching this as well, I realized it's a challenge to people watching because you kind of want to dislike it because it's not real.
Yeah.
But that's the whole point, is that it's not real.
Yep. Mm,
And yet stuff like this, and we're watching these street scenes, and I was looking at it going, this is James Cameron effects, where the effects are purely there to set the story,
yeah.
to set the mood, to set the moment. They're not the be all and end all of everything. And in fact, you've got this incredibly detailed scene with a virtual character who has, I think they advertised as well. They said, was it more detail in one of our eyes than Gollum? It's like a crazy amount of stuff. And yet, at the end of the day, they're then spending, the first few moments of this character stroking a dog and feeding a dog in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
It's really, it is a jumpy script. I am
Mm.
going to say that now. There are going to be points where I'm like, oh, that escalated quickly. He says as random future love interest turns up and just literally sweeps her off her feet and doesn't get killed, but there we go. At the time, the idea of this character, and this look, I think it
Mm.
was a huge challenge to audiences. I think it was a thing that maybe held more people back from seeking this film out.
I think so. I mean, I know from my own recollection, there was a lot of people when they first saw images of Alita that they just couldn't deal with it. There was a lot of
Mm.
flack online, which was a real shame because, like I say, I'm a fan of the franchise, the property, and I've been waiting for it for years. And I dug the trailers from the first announcement. I mean, this is not a small production. Like I say, it had a $200 million budget, and it's got a stacked cast.
It's got a stacked cast. Also, though, I would say that I think every single penny was probably put into effects,
Oh,
because even like little things there, like with the translucent qualities of her what would you call it, infant body,
uh,
for want of a better term, or kid body, but
hmm,
it's just the way you can see the light sort of shining almost through the fingers, and just the way she's interacting with the people around them. There's no sense of cut off or matte, like old fashioned matte lines. It just feels natural.
yeah, you're not feeling that this world just goes up to a wall and stops. You're feeling like this is,
Yeah,
I say, what, it's a living, breathing city that people. These are just one set of people in a larger environment, and that's really hard to do. So many
yeah.
films in much less difficult settings to replicate can't do that for whatever reason, and this just it gets it, which I kind of dig, you know.
There is. I'm gonna say this
Mm.
though. There is an element of creepy girlfriend with Alita. There is
Mm.
a strong element of creepy girlfriend.
She does have a slightly obsessive personality, doesn't she?
Well, I suppose she's meant to wear her heart on her sleeve.
Yeah,
And because eyes are the window to the soul, you feel those emotions far, far more because, let's face it, a large chunk of her face is eyes.
yeah. And I mean, one of the key things of Alita is, as a character across the franchise, is she has no memory of where she's from.
Hmm.
She she doesn't know the moment she wakes up on Ido's table in this case in the bed in the new body. That is her first memory.
Yeah.
She gets flashes from time to time, which we will see. What I think is a pretty good one later on.
Hmm.
Uh, but overall, she's building a new existence for herself. And even though she looks, in this case, yeah, like a teenager, she is still technically only a few days old, which is interesting to consider from that perspective.
Yeah.
One of the reasons for the choppiness of the plot is that they are kind of trying to set some stuff up for what's to come later. The film actually is not dissimilar. It uses the same plot as the OVA, which is the first real arc of the manga,
Okay.
with Alita awakening and learning about this world, and eventually becoming a hunter warrior. But because at the time Alita the OVA was made, there wasn't really anything else beyond that.
Right.
But now they have the full original Battle Angel Alita manga to draw on, which goes to some really heavy places and interesting places after the first couple of volumes, which this covers. And so they've tried here to, throughout the film, there are little things sprinkled in, uh, and a few changes. This character of Jennifer Connelly doesn't actually exist in the manga.
Okay.
Ido is a much more solitary, sadder character in a way because he left the world above on his own. He didn't come as he does here with his wife
Oh,
and start a family. He leaves on his own.
a tragic character?
Um, more that we never really learn the reason why Ido left, just that he did leave
Yeah.
because he kind of rejects what's happening up there and wanted to do some good. So
Sorry, the extra here peering over the guy in the red really bugs me. Sorry, these are the things that I pick up. It's yeah, I don't always get all the details. It's normally a random extra. Meanwhile, this is I've seen this sport somewhere else before.
Yeah, I mean, rollerball was not unfamiliar to the world at this point when the manga came out. So, I mean, this whole sport is the manga take. It's nutty. We only get a soupçon of how mad it can get. The manga has like three volumes, I think,
Yeah.
around Alita's speedball career, basically.
Also, so that is a core part of her story then, the
Yeah,
sport.
yeah.
Okay.
That her journey is. I say it's interesting because she she becomes the hunter warrior.
Yeah.
Uh, the stuff with just trying to remember the names because my brain's done a yeah.
Well, whilst you do that, let me just say that that bug is the first of many, many deaths in this film. And this has to be one of the most tragic films ever for deaths. Like nobody is off the
Mm.
table.
Oh yeah.
And and the amount of unhappy endings that turn up in this film, considering it's dressed, I mean, I swear elements of this could be a Disney film. She is almost like a
Mhm.
robo Disney princess. But there is death and destruction everywhere she goes.
Oh
It
yeah.
really is quite nasty.
I mean that does become an element of it's addressed in the series that
Oh really?
some people kind of latch onto that, and at least it does get pushback from people because yeah, they've realised that ever since she arrived, things have been weird and violent, and people do kind of they do just die in this setting.
Okay.
I mean, if you ever want an example of manga at its most brutal, yeah, this series is kind of it. People just heads vanish, limbs are chopped off. It's bonkers. It and it's but I think it's also really cleanly illustrated.
Hmm.
It's almost disturbing sometimes how well illustrated it is. But it's fun because this whole interaction, they actually Hugo in the manga and the anime is drawn much more as a bundled up street urchin. The
Okay.
shift to make the scrapyard a much more lived in environment where people can survive even if it's not pretty.
Yeah.
They still have lives and everything people expect. Uh, in turn, they like you say Disney. You can imagine some of this being a Disney production.
Oh, you imagine her getting out of bed and started singing.
Yeah, but most of these kids would fit quite happily into that sort of setting. You know,
Yeah.
you can imagine turning on a Disney original movie and seeing it hit this bunch, which is quite different to the source material. Although it does help get across the fact that these guys are kind of assholes as well.
Yeah, I mean they aren't exactly likable, and some of these elements are sort of they're made quite clear to the audience from the start that there's
Mm.
something untoward. And I suppose that's another element that makes you fear for Alita because she is a very pure person. Then when
Yeah,
then when she starts to get physical, you actually are worried about her and maybe even slightly fearful for her for the same reason.
yeah, understandable. She has a naivety that it's harsh to see some of that get worn away.
Hmm.
Also, I love the fact that in this junkyard city, you can buy blocks of chocolate that are huge.
Yeah, I think in this current economy, I think the cocoa solids would be about 2%. And for those wondering, we're currently in the UK, recording this close to Easter, and realizing that most of our Easter eggs have been squashed in an effort to save chocolate, and so they are even more of a rip-off than they've been before. So watching this, I'm actually quite jealous of Alita, because yeah, she seems to be enjoying herself with a good solid chunk of the real deal. Poor old Ed.
Ed Skrein, he has some odd roles, doesn't he?
Well, you say odd. I Has he ever not played or replayed his Deadpool character? And now, this is not a knock, by the way, against the actor
Mm.
whatsoever. And in fact, this is a guy who literally walked away from a role that he won because there was fan black backlash over his ethnicity.
Yeah.
And he took a noble stance and said,
Mm.
"This backlash, it's valid. I will step away." And good for him. But because of Deadpool, it seems like every time he pops up in something, including two certain Zack Snyder projects, he seems to be playing the same guy, just with
There,
a different uniform. And I get to the point, I'm like, he's not like this in real life, is he? I hope he isn't.
and it's even funnier because the first time I really became aware of him was from his initial role as was it Dario
Yes.
Zaharis in Game of Thrones in season 2, I believe. Was it 3?
And the guy can do anything, but he does
Mm.
not suit long hair. He just doesn't suit long hair. It just looked odd on him.
Yeah.
It looked like a swimsuit model had put on a wig. And again, that's not a knock at him, but when they then cast somebody else for the same role, it was like, yeah, that fits a bit better.
Although the funny thing about that is that neither actor, both of them got pushback because the way the showrunners portrayed the character, he's supposed to have, I think he's supposed to have dyed blue hair or a dyed blue beard, one of those two,
Ah,
because he's this flamboyant mercenary commander, and yeah, it's just kind of weird. But I think both
God,
of them were actually quite good for character. But yeah, he a lot of his roles, he doesn't tend to play a lot of heroes, does he?
no.
No.
I do wonder if he will maybe get his break one day. Maybe someone will just say, "Hey, look, you've done enough bad guys. Do something. Do something. Make that smile a genuine smile."
I mean, I'm trying to think, he was in the attempt to reboot the Transporter franchise,
Yes,
as which is still a sentence I struggle to believe that someone thought to come up with.
it's
Let's
Hollywood.
let's reboot the Transporter. Huh? Okay.
And of course, if a sequel to this film does get made, then he will come back, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, Zapan is a very important character in the original series.
Oh, good.
He, I think the first half, more or less, uh, and he's kind of the catalyst for what happens in the back half of the series.
Okay.
But what we get of him in this film is pretty much what leads to where he is in his final appearances. It's
It's a journey, an interesting journey.
yes, it's a very interesting one, and it's tied to one of those very sudden deaths that you don't see it coming on the page; it just happens,
Okay.
and the implications is just it the dominoes just fall everywhere.
Okay.
It's yeah.
Before we have one of the many changes in tone and what feels like genre of film coming
Mm,
up, I just want to ask you as well.
yes.
The city above.
Yeah.
I love the idea that it's leeching off the land and
Mm,
it's consuming products and then basically expelling through its center all this junk. And I love the idea that if the residents of the city didn't do anything, eventually that junk would actually rise up as a sort of hill, a mountain of refuse. And eventually it would actually reach this city.
Funnily
It's
enough, that does get touched on in the manga.
really? Oh, fantastic.
Yes, yeah. In fact, the whole thing with the city is interesting because what you may not realize is, well, for one thing, it's the last of the floating cities,
Yeah.
but it's also not just a city.
Okay.
It's supposed to be the bottom of an orbital elevator. There's another city above in orbit.
And that's something that is, I suppose, delved into later in the manga, and
Yeah.
probably would do at some point in the future of this franchise if they keep going. Okay, now a couple of points here. Firstly, anyone who plays Warframe, that's a wolf sled. That is a wolf sled that he's holding. Or it's at least a relative of the wolf sled. And I'm now happy because I've done my Warframe reference for the commentary. But also, I'm sorry, who is anyone fooling when you're that big and you're wearing a cloak to try and not stand out? And he's literally blocking the alleyway.
I mean, the thing is, the world of Alita is full of weirdos like this. We just haven't met a lot of them yet.
All right, okay.
I would say the fact that this hammer exists in Warframe just shows to me that the creators have at least one fan of Battle Angel Alita on the team.
Oh, I honestly wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, absolutely.
Because this is Ido's trademark weapon from the manga.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is... Yeah, he's surgeon by day and a hunter warrior by night with the broad-brimmed hat and the trench coat and a rocket hammer. Because, of course, why wouldn't it be a rocket hammer?
Exactly. There's also a lot of I think a lot of nods or influences from 40K here. In fact, it's more a 40K film, especially the third time I viewed segments of it. I picked up more on those bits than anything else, and I was like, there's a lot of dark stuff you can take from this. I will say as well, it was interesting to see. I think it's Eliza Gonzalez. She was in Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Yes.
Playing an utter psycho who must have real issues. How the hell did she do up her coat?
Yeah. But, I mean, again, once you start looking at a lot of characters from this series, you start to wonder, how do you actually get dressed? Because...
It's not just that they get dressed. It's this thing about suspenders. And Jennifer Connelly is guilty of this later on. Is it just a thing? Is it just a cultural thing with the manga that the heroes tend to occasionally go, "Oh, I'm doing other stuff, but I just happen to be wearing suspenders"? Because let's face it, there's not a lot of point when 50% of your body is toaster.
Oh, that's gotta hurt.
But again, this is, I think, the second. Yeah, I'd say the second because the victim was just framed as a victim. But I didn't expect her character to die that quickly.
And instead we get Jackie Earle Haley. Which... he's not a big man.
No.
And yet through the magic of special effects...
I'd also say as well, he's the one of the actor playing a CG character who clearly they've taken elements from. He's the one actor that really does disappear within the bot because his bot is so big, it's so broad.
Yeah, it doesn't feel quite as much like they've just...
I do love this stuff.
Faces.
It's so out of. I mean, if you're not familiar with the property, it's a real jolt.
Yeah.
Because you're like, why have we suddenly gone from cyberpunkish sci-fi to genuine sci-fi? You know, where's this going to come back in? And I hate to say it as well, but since you've now clarified that this is the first arc of the book, so to speak, it makes more sense why this film is the way it is, because this feels like the most sequel baiting film I've ever seen. It really is. It's almost like
Yeah,
a prologue. In fact, I genuinely thought that this was a TV series because of some of its pacing. But maybe that's because they're trying to adapt the volumes. And of course, each volume has its own sort of start, middle, and ending.
potentially. And I mean, they do sprinkle couple of cameos. So Jai Courtney appears in a little bit. No dialogue, but he's there as a.
Yeah, I had a bit of a laugh.
They try and lampshade him as being important. Uh, and Michelle Rodriguez, I think she
Yes.
was in that flashback we just
Yeah.
saw. Again, her character is rather more important to the grand scheme of things. So there's a bit of a hope that we could see these further on.
By the way, he is aware that he's
But
got goop on his shoulder. Is that something else? Am I getting that wrong? Or has he just got like a big pile of flesh on his shoulder? Or maybe
uh,
he's just injured. I don't know.
I I think he might be injured.
Okay.
He seems to be favouring one arm over the other.
This is very Blade Runner Tyrell Corporation. Apart from the face there, which actually looks like some sort of almost like one of those what was it? Something was it something
Almost,
computer
almost.
game-ish? Was it the company game where you jump onto a planet and you try and scavenge stuff and
Oh,
people die, and it's Andy played a lot of it. Decayed Andy.
Helldivers.
Lethal Company?
Oh, Leave the Company. Yeah.
Yeah. It feels almost like a sort of like the boss element that you would give
Mm.
stuff to, and they would decide if you've won the level or not.
Well, funny thing is, those heads actually crop up throughout this world because they're like,
Okay.
and they are, well, they are basically servitors in the 40k sense of the word.
Okay.
Uh, so, because a lot of the stuff in this world is organic based,
Mm.
no matter how augmented a lot of people are, there's not really any true AIs. Uh, although later on, the things blur quite rapidly because you get to a point where Alita gets her brain is copied,
Yeah.
and so you have copies of her out in the world who have their own experiences, but they don't have any organic elements of their brain. Their brain is fully synthetic, but it's based on her as a template. So it's, and I didn't realize this is Casper Van Dien.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it's only now I know that's who it was. I realize, oh yeah,
Do you know what's so good? It's good about this is that there are certain actors that were clearly hired by Robert Rodriguez, and then there were other actors that went through James Cameron. And I hate to say it, I don't want to knock Casper, but I don't think James Cameron was desperately trying to get Casper on board. I think this is all Rodriguez.
yeah, that sounds about right.
Bless him.
But he always picks really interesting people, though.
He
I find
does.
Rodriguez.
Well, Rodriguez as well. This was around the time. I mean, he'd been obviously working or speaking with Quentin a
Mm,
lot before this. Of course, he's got a good relationship with him. They've done a bunch of movies together,
yeah.
and he's definitely he's worked up his way inside Hollywood. He's almost like the anti Kevin Smith in that they both had a sort of very basic start, but
Mm,
Rodriguez has continued to finesse his experience, whilst Kevin Smith has just sort of gone, I've learned almost as much as I can in terms of the technical
mm,
side, but let me talk about films for the next 20 years. And trust me, as I'm someone who loves Kevin Smith, but you follow their careers are different.
mm.
So,
It's a fair analogy because they both got their first films were almost completely self-funded, maxed out their credit cards,
yep,
literally guerrilla filmmaking,
yep.
became stunning hits in their own right, and then they were able to kind of not write their own ticket, but it gave them certain tools they wouldn't have had otherwise.
Yeah, they then developed in their own world. So Kevin
Yeah.
developed, he still kept to the sort of light-hearted comedies, but they had that low budget feel, whereas Rodriguez was always going towards action.
But also, Rodrigo, for I think, Kevin is much more. He's more about the dialogue and
Yeah.
what he can get out of the actors. Rodriguez is very much like Cameron in that he has a much greater interest in the technology behind what he's doing.
Mm.
So, hence why he actually doesn't make films in Hollywood. He has his own studio
Troublemaker.
in, yeah, he has, and his own facilities.
Sorry. More suspenders. No need whatsoever.
I mean, I can't imagine any filmmaker would pass up the opportunity to put Jennifer Connelly in suspenders. Sorry.
It just feels weird. I don't know why. It feels like Sin City.
It does a little bit here because you didn't necessarily need it to get across their relationship between
Yeah.
these two. But again, it's really interesting because this character of Charon doesn't exist in the manga. She adds an additional wrinkle to the relationships of everyone,
Mm.
which I think it does help this work as a film. Because in the manga, the guy is much more the henchman of
But what,
Vector.
Ed Norton's character?
No, of Mashar Ali's character.
Ah, okay.
And I mean, there's very little of Destiny Nova crossing over really in the initial bits of the manga. It takes a while for them to start to mention him.
Well, let's
But
face it, it's a bit of a low key appearance here as well.
oh yeah, no dialogue. Pure, if anything in this film is sequel bait, it's Ed Norton's appearance at the very end.
Oh,
Which,
he was paid a nominal amount, but it was like, look, if this film does well, we'll pay you a king's fortune to be the bad guy in the next two films. And he was like, yeah, let's do it. And then nothing.
the thing is, Destiny Nova is a character who, if they were to let Ed Norton go full ham, which we know from time to time he is quite happy to do, it could really go bonkers
Hmm.
because he could really nail it. So
One of the unspoken horrors of this world is that these machine human hybrids can be scrapped,
yeah,
or seemingly on a whim by those in charge. And of
mm,
course, they're alive, and most of them can't do anything about it. And it's this idea of death, and you're just completely powerless. And then you have this ruling class, and I don't want to know about the city above.
mm,
But what we find out about the way that people get to the city above makes me question if there are, and again, I don't want to spoil it as well for anyone listening, but I have no idea what exists in the city above. But I have a feeling that I don't think anyone even would want to go up there. It feels really odd.
all I'll say is it's very very interesting,
Yeah.
very interesting.
But it also, as well, you get moments like this that show you the power of a good CG and good voice lines. Because
Mm,
Ed's voice is blended in with the guy here, and it's his look. He's basically speaking to children here.
yeah,
And it's a character that's already been set up as dumb. The audience, it then plays with their perceptions, and instantly this dumb robot is then talking to these supposedly intelligent, supposedly top of the pile humans, talking down to them. And then on a whim, he just jumps bodies. It's like you should be powerless against someone like that.
well it tells you that Vector himself, for all he looks completely organic, he's not. There has to be
Oh no.
something for Nova to jump into here.
Yeah.
So it honestly, I do like Mashar Ali's portrayal of Vector because initially he is quite a one-note villain,
Mm.
but as the series goes on, he becomes a lot more nuanced because you start to understand what his place is, but he is actually quite important in terms of what he gets for the city from above. And yeah,
It does seem like there was a certain symbiosis with the city and then the city above. And it's not just one taking from the other. It does seem like there's a slightly greater reason for that city still existing.
yeah,
And also the fact that I'm sure if the city below wanted to, let's face it, people could just go away. They don't have to stay there.
yeah.
They they definitely don't. I mean, the way that they present the world outside is arguably the most realistic take on the cursed earth I've seen.
Well, the funny thing is that we're actually only seeing the immediate vicinity of the scrapyard. We do see a lot more of the world outside of this, and there's a lot of ruins, but there's also a lot of small communities, people still active, and the oceans are still there. There are fishing communities and the like. There are still people going about their daily lives. But then you also have utter madness going on as well, like this.
Which is basically Transformers 1. And obviously Transformers 1 was many years after this, but it does feel very Transformer coded. But then again, you know, Cameron's even had digs at Transformers in his own films, so you know he's not shy of that. But I do love the variety of the designs.
Yeah, in the manga, they do a lot of work to try and go beyond just rocket skates. So make use
Yeah.
of the fact that a lot of these folks, they're cyborgs. They're not limited to the bipedal form. There are still people who do that and are successful, but you have just as many who have forms that are literally they're like a transformer. They
Yeah.
more or less turn into a car. It's pretty fun. Oh, poor Jai Courtney. He's finally found his niche by playing complete scumbag assholes, a la Captain Boomerang. It seems.
Yes, even though Hollywood tried to get us to love him as an
Yeah,
action hero for so long, and it was like, look, it's not going to happen.
yeah,
Okay, let the guy play to his strengths. I think maybe that's the same thing with Ed. Is that he just has to realize I am that guy.
yeah. I mean, with Jai, it's a shame because did you ever watch Spartacus Blood on the Sand?
Mm, no, I think I watched the first Spartacus and that was it.
The original
I
film or the
think I
first
don't know.
series?
Yeah,
Because
I think the original film.
okay, because Stars did a four season show called Spartacus, and the first season, the headline star sadly passed away afterwards because he had quite a nasty cancer.
Yes, yes.
But
Yeah, I remember that one.
Jai played his character's best friend the in the gladiator school where they were training. And
Oh, you know what? I have seen that series, but I don't remember Jai.
well,
That's so
he has
weird.
tight blonde curls in it.
Oh,
But
okay, that might be why.
yeah, I mean, he dies about halfway through the first season, but as a character, his impact is quite notable, and Jai plays him quite well. It's what got him a lot of attention in Hollywood,
Okay.
and why he started to appear in stuff. But I mean, I think he could be good as Jashigan in if they do go ahead with a second film, because that whole arc is very, very good. But if they skip it and go another way, that could work as well.
Do you think that they will still go ahead? I know there's been a lot of talk about this film and sequels, but it's mostly been from Cameron because he's so committed. It's like the fact he won't give up on Avatar.
The latest news is, and this was from initially it was a couple of years ago. Cameron and Rodriguez both came out and said that they'd basically sworn a blood oath to make a sequel.
Yeah.
When it's those two, you can easily imagine. Yeah, they're not joking. They probably did swear a blood oath with drawn daggers and the like. My current understanding is that Cameron is working on the script with Rodriguez, so they're working on it. Whether we'll get it in the next couple of years, I certainly hope so. But no guarantee as of yet. So we shall see on that score.
Now, this whole scene, apart from it being truly gross, because this person, has sensors in his arms, so he's basically being dismembered alive.
Yeah.
But surely a guy of this power would have access anyway to all of this technology anyway. It's not like he has isn't he in charge of the games? This is the one thing I never got because I thought this was his guy.
Well, there are limits. Some of the tech is bespoke, and some of the fighters, it's stuff that either their own mechanics have built or someone has found for them. It's not stuff that can just be made. And same deal with the reason they're doing a trade in spinal columns. It's a resource you can't just make. So kill two birds with one stone.
It does feel like a very twisted version as well of tall poppy syndrome, where, in Australia they talk about this. If you're too popular, then media will come after you just because you're too popular, you're too successful, or you're too big. It's like the universal will take you down a peg or two. With this, it's like if your body gets too advanced, that's it. We're going to scrap you for other people.
Yeah.
And it does feel like an incredibly cruel way to do it.
Yeah, and nice subject. I love how they've got in the defensive wall of the city because it's high pressure water.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's water jets.
Oh my god! I never realized that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Fun little.
This is what I really like though. This is because we've had real world experience here. We've had Chernobyl, and we've got the exclusion zone around Chernobyl, and it's doing wonderfully well. Nature has fought back far better than humans ever could.
Yes,
and in
same
fact,
in
it's
Fukushima.
considered a very lush path. Yeah, and you just think, in a real world future cursed earth type environment, you give it enough time, especially without meddling humans, and this is what it would look like. In fact, I'm surprised more people don't live out in the wilds. But then again, from what you say, if there's no law and order, then I'm sure people get up to all sorts of things. So I suppose people prefer the safety of oppression over the unpredictability of the wild.
Yeah, there's still a bit of Mad Max going on, but I do like what Alita is a good example of what I've heard coined somewhere as post-apocalypse.
Okay.
So it's the apocalypse has happened, the world's ended, and now things have stabilized and life is going on. Life's come back. I mean, I heard that term from a game called The Drowned Earth, which is all about a setting centuries after the fall of civilization, but people and mutants are still there. They're still living. They're rebuilding, and then you have these lush jungles and swamps that have grown up over and around the ruins of the cities of the old world. It's kind of fun to see settings like that.
You know, when you're an actress on a Jim Cameron film and they go, there's a scene underwater, and you'll be like, yeah, so I don't actually have to do the scene underwater. And you'll be like, yes. And you'll probably drown as well, or nearly drown, because it's James Cameron.
Yeah. I mean, the only real upside to it is that he'll probably be there alongside you, which I don't think is really as soothing a thought as he might think it is, because it's Jim Cameron. He's nuts.
I mean, I have to admit, I've swam places with my scuba gear, and I've done some pretty weird night shoots, and I've done not caving, but I've gone through caves underwater, and yeah, I wouldn't do half the stuff that he gets up to. But again, there's so many different things that have taken from this. Ironically, this feels, I know it sounds very odd, like I think it's Gorka Morka, where they've got the ship that crashed. They've
Yeah,
got the ship that crashed and the skid that comes from it, and the ship. They're hoping, like they're hoping to get one day one of them will be evolved enough to somehow get into the control room, and they think it will be a quasi-religious thing for them. And this kind of reminds me of that. Add in as well a little bit of Alien because of the condition of the ship, but there's so many little nods. I mean, they even have like an underworld, underhive, underground element that you see later on as well. And again, it's so rich with possibilities in terms of story. And I think maybe that's the challenge that this film had for me, is that each of these elements would make its own film.
Oh, yeah.
But because they've got so much, it makes it difficult for you to focus on a single thing. And even Alita is all over the place because she wants one thing and then she wants another thing. Then she gets like power really quickly. Then she makes mistakes, and you just think, hang on a second. But again, if this was always like the script that they were working from, the story, then that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
By the way, we've not talked about the biggest special effect in this movie yet.
Lisa herself.
No.
Oh, making
Nope.
Christoph Waltz a sympathetic hero?
Christoph Waltz. Christoph Waltz literally carries the soul of this movie. I know Lita is the main character, and I know that she provides a lot of emotion, but he is the heart of this movie because he plays this father figure so well.
Yes.
So well.
Absolutely. I mean, he was one of the actors when they announced it and who he was playing. I was like, I wasn't expecting that, but because the thing is, Christoph Waltz, I've always kind of dug seeing him in anything ever since Inglourious Bastards brought him to people's attention. And even there, he plays such a charismatic piece of shit. But it's been delightful post that to see him actually get quite a variety of roles, not just still playing villains. He plays a lot of heroic characters as well, which I do enjoy seeing him. And this is probably possibly the most heroic, or at least the most good-hearted character he's played, to my mind. You could argue that it's a toss-up between him and Doc in Django Unchained.
Yeah, true.
Because there he's much more self-sacrificial. But
here he just tries to be a voice of reason, and he's very much I think a surrogate for the audience as well, in saying, look, don't get into trouble. If you kick this anthill over, you're going to be in big trouble. And of course, Alita just, I mean, I think there's an element as well where she does have to be a rebellious kid because she is so new to the world. And he's the one saying, no, stop it. This moment here, this is where an episode would end. This is like the jump to her going, I want this job. 2 seconds later, I got this job. It's like, hang on a second. There's no proof of who you are. You're literally nobody in this world. How have you suddenly got ID? And I know that the filmmakers had to do it, and I guarantee you it's probably in the original story, and so that's why. But it's one of those things where it's like, I think this film could have been 2 films. Admittedly, it would have been a bit trickier to pull off. You might have had to made like Murderball the main achievement of the first film or something. But it does, there's these moments where it all clicks, and then there are moments where you're like, what the hell are we doing now?
Yeah, I can believe that.
And again, it's not a dig because it's done so well. Like technically, I mean, also as well for Robert Rodriguez. Admittedly, the cinematography for this film was Bill Pope,
Hmm.
and Bill Pope shot The Matrix. This is a guy who knows very, very well how to mix animation and live action
Oh yes.
and CGI and effects. So it all looks really, really handsome. But it's almost dizzying the amount of things that it sort of goes, oh, we've now got a Star Wars cantina.
Yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from there. I mean, like I said, I came to this as a fan already, so I knew what to expect. But
That's
to,
the thing as well. And it's important as well to hear that because you will be more critical over things that don't
mm,
work, but you'll appreciate where they've gone to the trouble of making things that do, which is good.
yeah, and I mean the amount of detail though. Just look at Zapan's body. The amount of that's going on there is kind of bonkers. If you
Oh, the Aztec style is
mm,
fantastic on his back.
and this whole thing running through the various bounty hunters is kind of groovy. I
Oh, I just realized where I know that guy from. The first one introduced. He was a Bond villain. Didn't he have the diamonds in
oh
his
Rick
face?
Ian, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was actually surprised because I hadn't quite realised just how many actors I was familiar with were in this. Uh,
Well,
Jeff Fahey's the dude in the hat and the beard with the dogs.
and I was thinking this has got to be like a Rodriguez Tarantino influence because he did pop up in a few projects and he'd been quite an underground
Hmm.
actor for a while, and then he just I think with these guys as well, like older actors, they get their moments, and if they take them and they're responsible and they work hard, which a lot of these guys do, it's just they've had bad movie choices over the years.
Mm.
They then get to do these films again, and they might not be interested in fame and fortune, but they get to go on screen and do their job.
Yeah.
And it's really, really nice. It's nice to see Jeff in this as well.
Hmm.
And you just know again, he was hired and he is probably still at home thinking, when are they going to make the sequel? Because they'll get me back.
Yeah. I mean, there's as much as there's a lot of death in this film, a lot of characters do return, and because there's a lot of cyborgs as well, death has levels for some of these personalities. So,
I was going to say, it's a bit fluid, isn't it?
hmm, as we shall see shortly. Well, in the last act of the film, really.
I was going to say, for Ed and the other characters like him who are fully
Hmm.
cyborged, or it feels like it. So is it just a brain?
Well, it can vary. It can vary. Some it's the brain in a in a case with an artificial face. Others, I think, with Zapan, it is actually his his original face. It's why he's so precious of it.
Ah, okay.
So the levels of cyborgation and how you become a cyborg gets it does go into it in the manga quite in depth at times. So,
Mm.
oh, I always loved how smooth that. I know it's not just Rosa doing the fights. There's a stunt double and stuff going on.
Oh,
But
there would have to be. It is
yeah,
really solid though.
and it gets across the idea that Alita is this practitioner of a martial art that lets her fight above her weight, quite literally. Even if the body she's in can't really stay in sync with it fully.
I was going to say is that's probably the challenge that she has. She doesn't even realize it at the moment, but her heart is literally too powerful and too sharp for her body. So it's not the case of she deserves this body to be all she needs to be. It's no, she was designed with that body in mind. If she doesn't get it, she's going to be in situations like this constantly, and that body is not going to crack it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's better than the body Hugo gets at the end, which is 90% Lego, but it's still, you know.
Oh yes.
And off we go.
Yep. Who doesn't love a good bar fight? But like again, like I say, it is a bit of a shift in tone. So
Just a bit. Also, as well, the gentleman there, and apologies, but because of the different stylings they use, he actually looks a little bit like someone out of Stargate, and I don't know why. I think it's the headset or the head makeup that they've given him the prosthetics
oh yeah, it does
there.
look a bit like a Jafar Warriors kind of headset kind of look.
Is the sword such a big deal in the comic?
Yes.
In the manga,
Yeah.
sorry. Okay.
It becomes Alita's signature in a lot of ways, because they refer to it as the Damascus blade.
Okay.
And technically, when the manga was written, I think the creator had some slight confusion about what that meant.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people do.
Yeah, I mean, Damascus. Here's where I go into one of my other nerdy likes at the moment. Damascus steel is this legendary technique that in the Middle Ages made the finest swords in the world, or the finest
Can I
blades.
just quickly jump in and say,
Yep.
ladies and gentlemen, he just said legendary. That means eBay, Etsy, and Temu, okay, they do not have Damascus blades. I don't care if your survival penknife is advertised as Damascus, it is not. Okay, it's legendary. Sorry, as you were.
And even when you watch stuff like, say, Forged in Fire, where they talk about Damascene blades, it's a technique. No, we still don't fully understand it. So a lot of the time, it's normally a Damascus blade you can tell because blade will show a frankly ridiculous number of folds in the steel.
Mm.
But there's methods to it. Like I say, we still don't get it. It was lost. Because let's say it was made. It was signature of Damascus sword makers, and that knowledge was lost centuries ago. But in this case, it's Zapan's sword that becomes Alita's eventually is. It's called the Damascus blade because it's made of some very rare metals, and it's been blended together in such a way that it's unique in this world. Yep. There's Grishka proving he is an utter bastard by killing the dog.
Now, I wish the guy that the parts have been stolen from, I wish he'd been green coded. And I wish then that you could have seen more clearly the parts that have then been stuck on, you know, this.
Oh yeah.
Grinish, because it doesn't really come across. In fact, his design, because he's so big, you just see him as big. So when he walks in there, I actually didn't really notice so much of a difference, even though when I rewatched it again, I was like, okay, I can see more of a difference now. But because his thing was he is big, it's only the hand that feels different to me. So it's a shame. It's one of those things that doesn't quite land as much as you. I think the filmmakers expected you to think. They expected you to go, oh my God, he's upgraded. Oh my God, he's done this. And it's like, you don't really notice it that much. I do like the fact, though, that they had all of these fights in this bar constantly and without anyone going through the floor, because if they'd gone through the floor once, they would have fallen 5 stories down. And I love the fact that there's just this other world. And I think there's another world below that as well, isn't there?
Yeah,
there's
multiple. The scrapyard is literally built on scrap that's come before it, so it's levels on levels. The Necromunda reference is very apt.
Very well. He also feels like a Necromunda ganger.
Yeah. I mean,
Although a certain gang that might have some access to stuff that might not be perfectly normal, but nobody in the Imperium's going to check that,
yeah.
obviously.
Although the funny thing about Gresha is that in the manga, he doesn't get that arm from Vector,
Okay.
because when they showed him removed from the body and he had the tail of his torso wriggling away. Well,
Yeah.
in the manga, that actually can become a drill, and he uses that to basically steal people's bodies. So he steals Kinuba's body wholesale. He doesn't
Oh
just have
wow.
the arm stolen for him, because he actually loses his body in the first fight of Alita. Almost completely. He gets really messed up because it's kind of just him and one sidekick in that fight, rather than
Yeah.
two as we see in the original one. So his body is actually a lot different, and his personality changes because depending on the body, he can get smarter or dumber or more articulate. He's a character that has kind of been a bit sliced down here to become a bit more.
He does feel like that. Yeah.
But for this purposes, because it is trying to do it as a single film, I think it works.
I think he has the line was, "This is where I started out," or "This is where I came from," and you just had this little nod to the fact that he might have had a genuinely tragic backstory, and it feels like you never quite get to that. And again, if I'd not heard of that, probably would have found it easier to be okay accepting that the character was sort of one trick, he's just a thug. But because you get that extra information, it makes it a little bit vague, and it's like, I want to hear more,
Yeah.
but you never really do.
I mean, the manga has a lot more flashbacks. Most characters have quite a lot of flashback material to kind of explain just why they're like they are. Very
Yeah.
few of them are completely. I don't want to say irredeemable, because a lot of them are irredeemable, frankly. But they all have origins you can understand how they became like
Yeah.
they are. I think Nova's the only one who doesn't quite fit that mold, but he's got some very interesting motivations of his own. So
Oh, I'm not surprised. I have to admit, this is badass. This is a very, very nice moment. It is a bit Black Knight from Monty Python, but it is also quite funny.
yeah,
But the Black Knight never considered this. I'll bite your kneecaps.
and the funny thing is, there's a couple of places that people have done digital sculpts of a lot of these characters.
Oh
And,
wow, okay.
The guy by the name of Papsicles is one of the more notable ones, and he has done everyone pretty much from a manga/film. So I'm kind of tempted to order a set of prints of his characters. I love the fact Matigue's dogs, as much as he's a cyborg and as much as some of the dogs are cyborgs, they're still. He reacts to them in the same way, and they react to him in the same way as anyone else would. So,
Yeah, I mean the little dog as well. I mean the little dog went into his lap. It was only because it ran out, and he was worried as soon as it ran out. I do like this though, the idea that Jennifer's sort of her character's put in her place without the Doctor saying anything.
yeah.
He doesn't actually have to say anything. He just walks away, even though she should be more shocked because that's her daughter's body essentially mangled and smashed up. So I'm surprised that she's not reacting a little bit stronger to that. But
I think her character thing is that she's disconnected herself so much from her emotions to
Yeah.
just focus on getting back to Typheres is it's become everything. She doesn't consider anything else.
I'm surprised actually that more people don't go back because you'd expect there to be at least some to and fro. But can I just shout out as
Mm,
well, Idara Victor?
yeah.
Idara Victor plays the assistant here in what I think is a pretty thankless role because
Mm.
most of her time is just spent staring. She spends so much time on screen in the film and yet gets very little to do. Does she is she somebody from the manga or is she an added character?
Ido's assistant is a character from the manga, uh, a very different character.
Okay.
One thing, it's a male character, and
Hmm.
also played a bit more as a comedy one. Whereas here,
Right.
she acts much more as his conscience, or
A sympathetic, yeah,
yeah,
extra voice in the room.
yeah. So I mean, I think she does like I say, it's a very thankless role, but I think she does it very well.
Hmm. She's someone that I would genuinely want to come back for a sequel. Even though she might not have a large part, it would feel more like home, if you see what I mean. It
Yeah,
would feel more like the correct setting if she was there. It would feel awkward if she was just replaced with someone else in Hollywood.
mm, absolutely. Fingers crossed. I mean, I hope if they're able to get the sequel off the ground, they are able to bring as many people back as they can do. Because I know actors are expected to say nice things about things they've been a part of, but everyone I know of who's been in this film has generally been very positive about their experiences. Which, given it's a wholly digital backgrounds and things, which I know a lot of people can struggle with, that's kind of impressive, you know?
Well, they've got a lot of real on-set shooting. I
Oh yeah.
saw some of the making ofs, and they've got a fair bit of that stuff.
Hmm.
And they have got actors obviously doing the roles for various CG characters. I think a lot of it is probably down to Rodriguez, who does. He has he's known for very positive
Hmm.
sets. He's works very well with his actors. I think again, it's another situation where you've got the brains of Jim Cameron and you've got the driving force of Jim Cameron, but also on set here, you've then got Rodriguez, who's a very
Hmm.
personable guy.
Yeah.
And he's known for treating his actors and most importantly as well, his actresses with a lot of respect.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's a good thing. I
Absolutely.
will say as well, Rodriguez and his Rebel Without a Crew book was one of my I suppose I wouldn't say it was guiding because it came out when I was already in the film
Hmm.
industry, or at least when I was going through, I think, film school or whatever. But I took so much from it, and having somebody write about shooting, and he shot his first film on film. It was, the last hurrah for filmmakers shooting on film,
Yeah.
especially in the low budget field. But he inspired so many people, maybe not massive filmmakers, but he did inspire a lot of amateurs to, I think, to attempt to do movies. And the only reason that I've shot a couple of features is because I happened to meet a director who had the same sort of ideas as I did.
Hmm.
And I think both of us had taken stuff from Rodriguez's book. So it was, he was an inspiration.
Yeah. I mean, Desperado, not Desperado. Al Mariachi is
Mm.
it's a rough film, but it's also raw in what it shows you about the talent involved.
So the whole story with El Mariachi was that it was made for roughly about 7,000 US dollars.
Hmm.
Now that wasn't the print that people saw on the big screen, and it wasn't the thing that made it to most DVDs.
Yeah.
But if you got his original DVDs back in the day, he was a huge one for special editions and extras and whatever.
Yes. Mm.
And so on the release of El Mariachi, the spruced up, Hollywoodized extra version of the original film, he also put the original $7,000 version on the disc.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And then Sin City, famously, it took years. And it turned up one day so randomly that I found it by accident and I couldn't even believe what I was seeing. He put up a Sin City box set that, as part of the whole extras, it had the entire film just as green screen.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
had the basic footage, and you saw how disconnected every element was. And it was just like, wow. So, this guy, I mean, he's a great guy for filmmakers, and his composition, along with Bill Pope,
Mm.
beautiful
I
stuff.
mean,
This has actually genuinely some of the nicest framing of any film I've seen in a while.
yeah. I love Rodriguez DVD. I have several of them in my collection because they're just really nice packages. He's one of those
Mm.
directors who embraced the format and gave you so much. I mean, most of his films even have a batch of him home cooking with recipes,
Yes.
which it's like, okay, sure, go ahead, Rob, and it's great.
Well, it was. I think it all started with the Once Upon a Time in Mexico, and I've forgotten the name of the recipe now, but it was
Oh,
the one that
the
Johnny Depp's character. Yeah, he said it was so good that he went out back and shot the chef.
yeah, because it's one he has it in every restaurant, and if it's ever better than he's had it before, he will kill the chef, which is just. It's one of those moments that when they tell you it initially, it's like, yeah, okay, and then he does it, and it's like, oh yeah, this guy is off his nuts. Yeah, okay, yeah.
I'm gonna be a bit petty
Mm,
now. One of my main complaints with the film, and I know there's a lot of stuff that I don't appreciate with the film because of script,
mm.
but it's harder to get past. But in terms of visuals, I don't like the fact that this whiskey's color seems wrong. It seems like the plot department got it wrong. It just seems a little bit too.
It looks a little like
I don't know.
diluted Coke.
Yes, it does.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's you can tell. I think you can tell. But then again, we are dealing with post-apocalypse, so who knows what this is meant to be?
yeah. I mean, God knows what the booze is like, and I mean, hell, it is probably originated as engine fuel for most people,
Wow.
or was at least made in stills made from engines.
Now, I don't know about you, D, but I've had a few romantic adventures in my time, but I've never woken up to somebody literally hunkered down on my windowsill watching me as I sleep.
Uh, um, I mean, I won't say I wouldn't partial to it. Mm. It's nice to feel wanted, I suppose. It is quite, from one aspect, it is one of those moves that if it was a man doing it, it'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
but that's a whole conversation about the balance of,
Yeah, that's
which I
yeah.
think is probably outside of our wheelhouse because I don't think either of us can
Yes.
really talk about it as articulate as it needs to.
No.
But
I mean, put it this way, I am, and this is a little peek behind the curtain, folks. I have discussed the idea with a friend of mine of doing the Twilight movies, or at least the first Twilight movie, with somebody I know who is highly intelligent, very articulate, but yes, is a fan.
surely your best thing to do would be to do what the cast did when they did their commentaries and get smashed.
It yes, though I don't know if we'd be afforded the same luxury. I don't think we've reached that star status yet.
I mean, you don't. I mean, they did it to get through the commentary, so if they need to do it, I don't see why you can't.
I know the one time that I've done a commentary on a film that I've shot, we just had this entire table full of junk food in front of us. And it was like, should we really be opening packets of crisps whilst we're recording audio? And
That
I
does
could see
sound
the guys,
dangerous.
the sound recorder in the corner, just shaking his head. I was like, so how are we going to eat this stuff? I think they ended up putting it in large bowls for us, and it's like every so often where you just hear one of us, our voice would
Nom,
suddenly
nom.
go very quiet in the conversation, and then you'd hear scrunch, scrunch, scrunch. It is, sorry, coming back to the film quickly, leaving my snack talk alone, but the fact that she is so innocent and pure and offers her heart, literally.
Yeah,
I mean, this is like if he took her, he would just take out two wires and that's it, game over for her. And yet she's willing to do it. It's a really odd moment.
absolutely. And you can kind of see in Hugo's eyes, there's a slight moment of he was really tempted, wasn't he?
Yeah. And I have to admit, this is around the time because I'd not really bought into Hugo so
Mm,
much. He hasn't really he didn't strike me as an honorable person. I was expecting a real twist on his character, but he's not the most likable of leads, but maybe that's why they chose him as well, because they don't want some cookie cutter guy. And let's face it, his story arc, and especially the end, is very odd. So
mm.
I'm kind of glad that they didn't build him up to be a massive hero.
Yeah, I mean, the manga is very. They don't make him a pretty boy like this. He's much more in the ragamuffin kind of mold.
Mm,
So age-wise, he's kind of more on par with Alita when she first wakes up. And in terms of
yeah,
stature as well, he's quite a short individual. But he believes in the myth of Zalem, in
right.
the PR for it to get up there. But it's interesting how just he does struggle
Mm,
with his ethics because he understands what he's doing is highly illegal, highly dangerous. But he also accepts it as the only way he can get up there because he's made the deal with Vector, and he probably shouldn't have
this,
expected Vector to follow through, but
yeah.
it's all he has left to believe in. He's got nothing else.
They do a very, very clever thing here, actually, with you've got the initial body, which I would say is the child body. Then you have the combat body, which is the young teen body. And then you have her armor here, which gives her, even though it's meant to be armor, it gives her not a standard, but a very much more female silhouette.
That's true.
So she ages throughout the film, but the way she does it is not just implied by really obvious, oh, we've got a new body for you, and it's that of a 30-year-old. No, it's just the way they've used the armor to highlight elements in this scene. It's really good. This lot though, this looks like a random character creator set in Cyberpunk. It really does.
Isn't it great? I do think that's one of the things this film does do well, though. When they do have people showing off their cybernetics or just walking around with cybernetics, it's full of completely. There are some really mental modifications on display. It's great.
Now, why is Hugo choosing this moment to go and try and stop his old gang instead of just because he's left the thing which was really important and then he's just gone and he's tried to find these people, and it just feels a bit odd. It's like surely he would have this word beforehand.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's funny.
It almost feels like it fulfills a purpose for the script as much as anything. It's like get him away from the event, get him into a situation where he's in danger. By the way, the one person with intelligence in the scene is the guy in the background who's about to completely book it in about 3 minutes and get out of here scot free. Good
Yeah,
for him.
I mean, it's funny because in the manga, this doesn't happen.
Oh, really?
Getting caught does, but Hugo's in on the job. He's with them. One of them gets unmasked, so they have to kill the guy they're trying to rob.
Yeah.
And then Zapan shows up.
Ah,
So there's no
okay.
falling out. So Hugo, they've tried to give him a little more nuance here, and like you say, it is a bit clumsy how they've done it. It's arguably more interesting if he hasn't stopped when he's caught, or he's just doing one last. Actually, no, I think in the manga he's trying to do one last job to get the last bit he needs.
Yeah.
Get his payment from Vector, and he's gotten sloppy because of it. Oh, yeah, they nailed the fact that Zapan is just a complete dick.
Yeah.
And Ed is very good at doing that, in fairness.
But I think as well, a lot of the actors with this, in addition to all of the acting that they're doing, they're also having to deal with a lot of technical stuff. By the way, he got cut in half.
Yeah. And it's just...
Was he a robot, or is that flesh?
That's flesh. I mean...
That is gruesome.
Yep. Just completely...
I mean, they do it so quickly, but that's stunning. But you think as well, the level of violence in this film, and they're incredibly brave about doing it, and the way they get away with doing it, I suppose, is they show it so fleetingly that if the first time you see it, I reckon there's a lot of people that don't even realize that happened.
Yeah.
By the way, this has got to be at least a partial nod to El Mariachi and Desperado. It's just a little bit of climbing these little wagons and riding on them and doing stuff like that. I'm surprised that they don't slide down a tripwire at some point.
Yeah. I think he suspected he may not be able to get away with all of his favourite beats. So.
Well, okay, this is something as well I wanted to ask you, because I've got a couple of questions I want to put to you.
Yes.
So this is if Rodriguez had been given this film to shoot as he wanted, do you think it would look this polished, or is it the Cameron influence? And the reason I say that is because Rodriguez also had input into the Star Wars universe in the last couple of years, and the results of that were far from polished.
Well, now, I'm one of those rare people. I will defend Book of Boba Fett, because for one thing, the episode Rodriguez directed in The Mandalorian that brought Boba back properly is pretty spectacular. Book, a lot of people have knocked some bits of it, and I think they've not realized. So, like, there's a chase where the moped gang he's recruited.
Yeah.
And some people have said, but Valak's silly, and it's like, yeah, they're chasing a complete goon, a complete lunatic, who's, a nothing burger. So of course they're not going to run around and try and see. They're going to take. But I suspect that Book may have also been a case of them trying to get it out a bit too quickly. I think if it had a little bit more time to gestate, it could have done better. I also don't think it helped that halfway through they made it an episode of The Mandalorian. A good episode, but one that just undid a lot of what happened in the finale of season 2 of The Mandalorian. So, yeah, it's weird.
I do wonder as well whether he'd been given an episode to do, and they said to him, we haven't got a massive amount of money to spend on this one. Can you do it cheap? And I do get the feeling that he may be, because he's very much in with these companies. It's not like he's been turfed out. And I reckon there's definitely an element where I think he did really well with what he had, and I
Yeah.
don't think he. And I wouldn't even be surprised if he pitched it because there was the situation of we need to somehow do not a filler episode, but an
Mm.
episode where there's literally a couple of stormtroopers running through a forest,
Well,
and this is like one of the main plots. And he was like, I can make that look better
mm.
than other people. Give it to me. And so that's what he's done. He's made the best of it that he can
I
do.
mean, the funny thing is that his episode of Mandalorian is one of the episodes that is actually shot mostly on location, not in for
Yeah.
volume. So they went out into, I think it was outside LA. They went into the hills and shot it on location, whereas a lot of the Star Wars stuff on TV, they've used the massive volumetric arena they built to add in digital backgrounds instead, which I still think it's a great tool, but it's gotten a bit of overuse since they first introduced it.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. Book has a lot of really nice set work going on, but I suspect I think it needed really an episode 2 more just to get across what they were trying to say with it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Cam, you can tell he loves coming back to play Boba. Ming-Na Wen as Fennec Fan, or Fennec Shand rather, is one of those inspired bits of casting, and getting her back, brilliant. But yeah, it's a shame because I don't think it did his reputation massive harm, but it has kind of become one of the lesser elements of the current era of Star Wars, which is a shame. I've got to say,
I'll tell you what, actually, speaking of Star Wars, this whole sequence does feel almost like
there's a bit of episode 1 pod racer, isn't there?
Yeah, but also as well, pod racer. Like one of the things said against the pod racing was, yes, it was very, very nice, and we can tell George had a passion for it, but it was never quite as good as it thought it was. Like it thought it was absolute cinema.
Yeah.
And it didn't even win, it didn't even win the special effects Oscar that year because The Matrix kind of beat them to it. And this, on the other hand, this does feel like it. It does feel like this is the best version of this type of scenario that they could come up with. And it does look as though both the director and the writer-producer really work together to make every single moment count. And it does. I think it's fantastic. This type of scene is the best kind of action beat in the film, and it works fantastically well.
And you know what's really ironic about that? This sequence doesn't exist in the manga, not in this sequence in the narrative.
Oh wow!
Because Alita doesn't start competing until I think volume 4 or 5 of the manga, long after Hugo's story has run its course. Instead, it's more a case of she has become a bounty hunter, and one day she actually sees his name on a docket because he's been identified. So she is trying to find him out. They kind of put in the race this early to add that extra element of her trying to find a way to help Hugo get up to Zalem. So I think it does work quite, because it also helps just giving you a bit more texture for the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially her journey through it. You're seeing a lot of parts of the city that you wouldn't see elsewhere. And again, there's so many. Like for instance, the big grinder behind them. I look at that and I think Hellboy 2. It's because there's just these elements. But I appreciate as well. There's just a whole ton of stuff. Also, I'm really intrigued because I don't believe that robot, that character is dead, because you have some cyborgs being cut in half and they die. Then you have others where they just have their head and their spinal column left, but they survive. And it's just this mix of different people have different levels of augmentation, so they have different survivability rates. And yeah, there's
Yeah.
so much difference between the characters. Oh, hello. I like they have one tiny little character actually looking at the camera for 1 second, just enough to throw you, to actually make Ed's character look even more shocking. If Alita has a weakness in this film, she keeps dropping that damn sword. And it's like,
Yeah.
just keep it on you, then he can't do anything with it. And if Hugo has a weakness, he doesn't flat out say what happened straight away. He goes, I'm sorry. And it's like, come on, man. You're in a life or death situation. Please just tell her the truth straight away.
Yeah.
Especially to someone who can punch holes in tarmac.
But it's funny that they've actually gone to great lengths here to make Hugo much more palatable by not the fact that he doesn't kill people, whereas in the manga, he does.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's
Okay.
no ambiguity. Some cyborgs, they do just take the parts and leave them. Others, though, yeah, they're taking a whole lot of stuff off them. It's enough they can't survive. It's very interesting.
There's probably a version of the script or the original manga where she does turn and she becomes just as bad as all the other hunters. She becomes arrogant, she becomes vain, she becomes vicious, she becomes basically an empress. I just think that there's that possibility beneath the character, and that's something that I really like about it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the film just keeps screwing people over. Are we sure this isn't 40K? Everyone just seems to have a really miserable time of it.
I know, right? It is a very depressing setting. It's shockingly so. And it gets even worse
By
the
the
more
way,
you learn about how the world got this way. Because you
yeah,
start learning about what's happened on Mars, because that's where Alita's from. She and the others of her unit, the Great War was basically between Earth and the colonies of the solar system. But
are any of the colonies okay in the manga timeline?
they get weird because there are colonies right across the system. But when I say everywhere, I mean Venus, Mercury, not just the Jovian moons, but Jupiter itself. There are
Yeah.
colonies in these zones that are so antithetical to human life, and yet there are colonies that have thrived. But some of them don't really resemble humanity anymore. Their motivations are still very human. Some of them don't at all look it. It's great.
Well, let's face it. It's the nice thing of, as you said, post apocalypse. You have the rise of the new species. I mean, again, we have squats.
Yeah.
A perfect example. They are not human, but at some point in the past they were. So I'd imagine, yeah, planets with different gravities, different forms of radiation. I imagine you get some very weird and odd situations out there.
Yeah.
But it does look as though a lot of the reason for the state of this world is that all of the other planets took their war to Earth. So it wasn't Earth fighting them on their own planet. It was everyone coming to Earth and kicking the crap out of Earth.
Yeah. It was a case of Earth was the center of the Terran sphere, and the colonies just got fed up with it. So, because the whole thing with because Zalem's wasn't the only city in the sky. There were others. Now there's just one.
Yeah.
As they say, they all fell in a night, and yeah, it's not terribly pleasant. Although it's quite fun because later on we get to meet in the Last Order series. We start to meet many, many more of the personalities from around the Sol system. And man, some of them are real weirdos. And by that I mean utter goofballs, because
Mm.
I think Last Order is basically a big martial arts tournament. Ooh, that had a sting.
This is the oddest way for a bad guy to go. This is one of those things where the sequel baiting kind of
Yeah.
it does dig in a bit, because it's like you should kick him until he stays down, not just really piss him off. Because the thing is, you expect him to come back in the finale. You
Yeah.
expect him to be on a mission, or you expect him to take Christoph Waltz's character out. And yet nothing ever comes of it. It's really weird.
No, he
the Lego body. Sorry, you were saying.
No, the way his character eventually comes back, because in the manga, from the moment immediately after Alita slices his face off, you spend a little more time understanding that he is having a complete breakdown. He goes completely Coco for Cocoa Pops.
Okay.
And I think he turns up one more time in the manga before his final appearance, and there's a big gap between those two. But even then, he's completely lost it, because his face was he was so obsessed with his face, and she kind of got that was his main weakness. So see, this is an interesting one, because in the manga, Ido doesn't actually know about Nova until quite late on in the initial manga. Whereas this, for recontextualization, that he and his wife left with their daughter because they were forced to, whereas he originally chose exile on his own in the manga. It's an interesting switch. I'm still not sure if I prefer it or not, but I understand why they added it, to try and give a bit more flavor and to help them speedrun a couple of changes to get the story across.
Speaking of switches, I don't like this end for the character, for Connolly's character. It feels, it's not just tragic.
It feels a bit mean, doesn't it?
It feels mean-spirited. And there's the worst thing about it is it doesn't even have. I mean, are you meant to be shocked? No, because you've seen so many robotic hybrids and people cut in half and stuff, that when you see what is, and okay, it's said to be her. I don't even believe it is her. But it just feels so sort of, oh, okay. And the character doesn't even react to it. Alita does not react to it.
Yeah.
So it's like, why even have it there? Why not save? And this would be the one time where I'd say, if you're going to save a character for the sequel, save her, please.
Yeah, I mean, her character, I would not be surprised if she does show up and that was Vector and Nova trying to mess with the
Push her buttons.
Yeah. Because there's a bit for Ido in his journey later on in the first series of the manga, where her character would actually fit in quite well as a surrogate for another one, and it would actually give both of their characters, as we've seen them here, a much better journey, I think. So, yeah, fingers crossed on that score.
I have to admit, these are quite characterful robots. I did like them. Are they sort of the regular enforcers in Alita's world, or were they designed for this movie? Because they do look like quite a lot of manga style bots that you see in
Mm.
other series.
Uh, yeah, in the manga, the factory does have enforcer robots. I think they're a little
Lovely.
different to these, but the basics are there. And it's especially shocking because, as I pointed out earlier, there are no guns in Salem. Then in the scrap heap,
Mm.
it's only factories' mechanical enforcers that have firearms. No one else does. So, oh yeah, that's
It just seems so odd. It's also as well. Didn't the eyes move then?
mm,
There's this element of it. Just yeah, like Alita doesn't even care at this point. And then to make it even weirder, she doesn't. Oh yeah, of course I'd almost forgotten. It-
yeah,
One of the reasons as well why, and people listening at home as well, why have I sort of brought up a few sort of odd or challenging questions to Dee on this? And Dee knew my thoughts before we started recording, so it's I didn't want to put him on the spot with any of this. But one of the things I noticed is that when I do some research, one of the things I do is I check YouTube. And I check YouTube to see what angle people have used when they've discussed this
mm,
film. And the angle that people have used when they've discussed it is they've reviewed it and that's about it. Honestly, the lack of videos for this
ah,
film is genuinely quite shocking.
interesting.
Now, the manga, on the other hand, massive,
Mm,
but the film, very little. Then I decided, oh, let's look on IMDb and see what interesting trivia there is, because people love to dig out trivia, right?
yeah,
There's barely anything for this. There's
ah,
barely anything. And it does, for me, it's almost like a bit of an Avatar situation where it is technically impressive.
mm,
There is a beautiful world that you like to explore. And I would say far more than Avatar. I think from what you've said as well, if they did do a second film and a third film, I think the audience and the recognition for this would go through the roof.
hmm,
But because this is such a sort of prep film,
yeah,
it feels like the setup to, and because that never then happened or hasn't happened yet, people haven't truly engaged with it. It's almost like everyone is and also
mm,
because it's James Cameron, they're expecting the second film. Then they'll get excited, and the sort of the similar concept to that is the fact that far more people I think seem to be more interested in the new Mortal Kombat 2 than were actually interested in the original Mortal Kombat when it came out. Because people are
mm,
thinking, this has got extra stars and it looks like it's really motoring. So it's a fascinating film. It's full of these beautiful ideas,
yeah.
fantastic technology, interesting characters that you want to know more about. And from what you say as well, these characters do have fantastic journeys.
Mm.
But at the moment, there isn't quite enough for us to grasp onto.
Do you think this would have been a film where if they'd shot two films rather than just one?
Oh, we wouldn't be having this conversation about an unknown film. This
Mm,
would be huge. This would be massive because I think it's not all tease because they've got payoffs in this
yeah,
film aplenty, but they needed that second film made then and there, and it's cruel because the reason that stopped this was Avatar and Cameron's commitments
mm,
to Avatar. And it's a shame because,
yeah.
of course, this film and the rights now sit with Disney, just like Avatar. So who knows what's going to happen there? But no, I do think if they'd done one and two, I think this would be, I think this would be incredible.
Mm,
I genuinely do, because this has more potential than most films I've seen in the past
that's fair.
decade.
I'm actually quite heartened that you've spoken it of it in those terms because I understand where your criticisms have come from, but I also
Mm.
appreciate the fact that you can see the possibilities of it.
Oh, and it is as well. It is shot so cleanly. It is shot so effectively. It's like it's taking everything. It's like Rodriguez's framing. He's really really good. He storyboards all of the time, but he's also fluid on set.
Mm.
But then you pair that with Bill Pope, who's just technically fantastic, and his team are great. And you've got Jim. I mean, this is the best of all
I mean,
worlds.
it's kind of a bit of a murderer's row of talent, really, isn't it, when you think about it?
Yeah, it is. It is. It really is. They're quite exceptional, and it's surprising that more people didn't focus on that
I mean, I'm trying
roster
to.
when they were doing
So this came out
the interviews.
in. Hang on, I'm trying.
Was it 19?
Uh,
2019?
it was 2019. I'm just trying to double check the release date. It came out It premiered on January 31st in London, 2019. So, actually, this would have been one of the last films I saw before I had my spinal surgery.
Well, this is also as well in that. I mean, 2019 was still business as usual for Hollywood, but then everything sort of reset 2020.
Yeah,
And to be honest, a lot of things like the hype and motivation for films and momentum disappeared
yeah,
with lockdown.
yeah.
And so this was still new. So this was probably it was probably looking to make its journey to home media towards the end of 2019.
Uh, yeah. I'm trying to, because I know I pre-ordered. I got it on day of release on Blu-ray, and
Mm,
I bought for digital as well because I wanted it to be able to take places.
mm.
Because, well, I was a fan, fan of property, so I wanted
Yeah.
to pick it up as much as I could. But yeah, it is an odd one on that score. That I mean, 2020 did so much damage, not just physically but mentally to people, and
Yeah.
so much momentum was lost for so many films and productions in that time. I mean, the only other time something has impacted as much has been when there's been a strike, really. Writers' strikes. I've had a few of those, and you can always tell when there's been one because it affects everything. And
Oh, don't tell me about writers' strikes. That
yeah,
has affected me. That's part of the reason I left the film business.
mm,
But I will say I checked just to be safe, and no, I got that wrong. It was released on home media July 2019, so it wouldn't have been affected by anything directly in
mm,
terms of lockdowns. But as you say, lockdowns reset so much stuff.
mm.
People almost gave up on Hollywood films because, well, they couldn't make anything. So it was just a case of the momentum for this got lost and has never quite found its way back yet.
Yeah,
But it will be there. By the way, is Hugo dead?
yes. This is how he dies in the manga.
Okay.
Because the thing is, he's still a human head.
Yeah.
So from that height, yeah,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
I know. I just wanted to check because, and I know people at home might be like, "Hey, you sport that for us," but it does feel like there he'd done as much as he could do, and he didn't feel like a character I wanted around anymore anyway. So, and it was the final. It was the only thing apart from killing Christoph Waltz and Idara Victor, who, by the way, has still yet to do anything beyond standing around, and I really hope she does more in the sequel. But yeah, it's these are the two characters that are still around, and it's such a relief that they are still around. But yeah, the death count on this is really quite cruel.
yep,
You can tell though why she's then become the way she has. She's been, I suppose, hardened very, very quickly to the ways of the world. Is she still an innocent character in the
uh,
manga? Because it
not
does seem like stuff
not
gets
so
really
much.
dark for her.
She's reached a point in the manga now where she's kind of worked through a lot of the traumas of her birth into
Yeah.
the junkyard, uh,
Okay.
and she's working to try and find her, get a sense of who she was before she was Alita,
Mm.
and it's it's an interesting journey. There's a goofiness to the manga as well, much like things like Appleseas and Ghost in the Shell. There's a sense of humor underneath things where characters do they act like people, and because they sometimes they can be goofy, they can be weird,
Mm.
they can make stupid jokes and have really black senses of humor. I mean, at one point there's a Lita herself, and simultaneously she has at one point in the manga she has a controller, someone
Mm.
someone in the chair, so to speak, helping her on missions, and that person eventually gets made a remote that's basically
Mm.
an action figure sized version of Alita. That's like a chibi version that sits in the control room with her, and Alita can actually control that chibi version of herself, and
Oh my
it can get
God.
very silly at times. So you have this little chibi Alita jumping around doing all of Alita's stuff just in an office. It gets very weird very quickly. I will say that.
I'm hoping they can bring this to the screen soon.
I hope so, because some of the weirdness of the manga would be delightful. I mean, hell, so much of this series, the series and the film, it has cyborgs in it. But there's one character in it who's not cybernetic at all, and yet still can fist fight with battle-hardened cyborgs and win.
Mm.
It's quite fun to see his whole thing because he rejects all cyberization. Uh, yeah.
Nice. There's two little thoughts that I'll leave you with. One is uh, this was fun. I saw a comment
Hmm.
on IMDb, just a review for this film, and it kind of sums up, I suppose, what people like about it, what they don't. For people that are not a fan or haven't heard of the original material.
Yeah.
So he goes, don't analyze the script, just enjoy it for what it is, an action movie with a very likable heroine and great VFX. I'm a 47-year-old man who went to film school. I love this movie. There's no point in trying to dissect what Alita Banks Angel got right or wrong in terms of script or pacing or character development or whatever else film snobs like to blather on about. Because, yeah, script, pacing, and character development is clearly nothing. This is just fun, action packed first installment of what I hope will at least be a trilogy, if not more. And they couldn't have cast Alita any more perfectly, even if her on screen form is completely digital. Great movie, tons of fun, don't overthink it. And I'm thinking, yeah, yeah,
It's not
that's why
wrong.
you should enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's why though that's a good example of maybe why people did enjoy it and they enjoyed the cinematic
Hmm.
experience. But I also think as well it's why it's not had the hold that maybe it deserves in people's minds
Yeah.
because it just needed something else. The other thing is as well is that Rosa Salazar is in a unique club because she has a Happy Meal toy that was made of one of her characters. It was the character called Diamondback in Captain America. Did you ever see Diamondback in Captain America?
The last one.
Yep.
I saw it
You
from the
didn't.
cinema, but to be fair, the Serpent Society was done really weirdly in that film.
Oh, they cut her out. She never made an appearance in the film. That's the irony. They'd already set up the Happy Meal deal, they'd already like designed it and it was all being rolled out, and then at the last minute, like a lot of other things, they cut her performance, and it wasn't because of anything bad. It was because like the Marvel films at the moment, they're cutting people left, right, and center, and they
I
chop and
mean,
change.
Strange. What the hell?
Brave New World. I think it
Yes,
was Brave New
yeah,
World.
I think. Or did they change it from that to something else? That film confused me because it's a Hulk film without the Hulk in it.
Yeah,
Because Red Hulk
it's
is
weird.
yeah, it's weird, and they had the Serpent Society, but only kinda if you squint. And yeah, that's so weird.
So it's an interesting time. It's just it's weird that she's one of those actresses. It's kind of like Ed as well, I think, who've appeared in a lot of things that almost worked. I know Ed obviously had Deadpool, which did, but then he was in that weird Zack Snyder thing,
Hmm.
and he was in this, and it's like he's somebody that gets featured a fair bit, but he doesn't always appear in stuff that goes well. It's very much like Jai Courtney as
Yeah,
well.
I mean, Rose has had some good stuff because she was in, what was it? There was a comedy series she was in for Netflix, Brand New Cherry Flavor,
Okay.
which I thought was quite good, and it's a film that is both a horror and also one that is kind of like it, it's trying to hold a mirror up to the Hollywood system.
Mm.
Uh, and she was in one of the, Star Trek. They were doing the short treks a few years ago.
Oh yeah,
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 she was
yeah,
in one of
yeah.
those. She's actually played a captain in
Ah,
Star Trek.
good
Yeah,
grief.
it's one of those little
There
things.
you go.
So she does crop up and stuff, but again, she's I think she's someone who should be much bigger than people are aware of her as. So much like Ed, fingers crossed.
Yeah, I think as well. It does. It's a challenge to her because the role she's playing here, they make it such an obvious
Mm,
physical change to her appearance with the eyes. And so it means that the actress herself isn't as recognized. Like I couldn't, and obviously with the CG, etc. And yet she is obviously the heart and soul of that
yeah,
character.
I mean, she was on set. She was in the suit doing most of the mocap and the the digital acting for the CGI effects. So it it
I mean, she was at least asked to join the academy, so she's definitely held in regard by other creators,
mm,
which is good.
absolutely, and I'm glad of that. So,
Good.
but I'm glad we did this one because it's a film I have a soft spot for, and
Yeah.
I think if nothing else, so far we've proven with this series that we're all in for films that we have a soft spot for.
Well, also as well, each of these is going to be different.
Mm,
So the stuff we did with George, if you people have listened to that, it's very we're talking cerebral and we're talking about a lot of emotions and themes and stuff like that. And then by the time you hear this, you will have heard the Mortal Kombat one, which is a lot. There's a lot of reminiscing. There's talking about stuff in the past with my guest. Billy, and talking about stuff in his hometown and arcade machines and all sorts. And so there's elements of that. So every one of these will be a little different, and it's nice as well. It's nice to do a film that you do really like, that you're passionate about, because yeah, that's kind of the point of this whole series. So
yeah.
it's been nice to hear you talk about this as well.
Well, you know me. I'm like Luis from the Ant-Man movies. Put the coin in. You got to let me run. But,
I think on that note, we can probably head off.
I think we probably can do as well.
Hey folks, if you enjoyed the show, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We chat about new movies every fortnight. And if you're interested in hearing more from us, and if you like a bit of fantasy, 40k, or tabletop gaming, the links to our parent channel, the Fluff and Hammer podcast, are in the show notes.